Hey guys, my name is Macy, and today I'm going to show you how I took these photos that I posted the other day. I've had a ton of requests for tutorials, and I decided that I'm going to give this thing a go. I hate being on camera, but I think maybe it's something I'll get used to. I just don't like seeing or hearing myself, and I think that's pretty normal for most photographers that are behind the camera all the time. So we're going to start with this tutorial, and I hope it's helpful. Okay, so as you can see, the sun is back out. We can see the shadows that I had seen and I thought just looked cool and would go really well with a hat that I just got. This is Bert. Bert, kitty kitties. But the shadows are being cast right from this plant, so I used those. Okay, so I grabbed this backdrop. It's kind of like a beige tan color, and just laid it underneath there because I don't want the carpet for the shot. And then I have this wreath that I had hanging on the door outside, and I thought that would be really cool, you know, like off to the side for those shots, so I just did that. I also kind of turned the plant if you want the shadow like in a different spot. And in this case with the photos, I wanted it kind of wrapped around the hat, so I turned it like that. I also had in the photos, there was like a bird nest underneath here, and it was like dropping some dirt, so there's some of that there, but that's what that was from the shots. I thought it gave it just some added texture, so I left the dirt on there. So I just took this hat and, you know, tucked it into the side, and then I shot through the leaves and kind of off to the side. I also threw in a different color just because I thought it would be cool to show a different hat but not like showcase that hat itself. And then I used one of these growlers, and I literally just stuck the camera lens kind of like through this hole to give it the reflections around the shot. So kind of like this, but I had my 50mm lens on, so it was able to blur those edges. And then I just took the wreath out and set the hat in the middle like this, and then shot from above. And like I said, if you wanna, you can like turn the plant if you want it, or move your hat, you know, whatever works easier. But yeah, that is what I did for that. Okay, so for editing these shots, I have all my edits done. I'm not going to go through that whole editing process, but you can see the before and after. That's out of camera. This is the edited version. I do like to use layer masks within Lightroom, so I'm just going to apply one here just because I feel like the side of this hat is kind of dark. So I'll lighten that up a bit on that one. Sometimes I will even go in and add, you know, if there's like a shadow from one side, I'll make it a little bit darker. And then from where the light is coming from, I like to just dehaze that side a little bit. We'll go to this one. So this one, this is out of camera, and then this is the edited version. These are pretty like standard. I mean, I would say most of my images are pretty close, you know, depending on lighting. As far as like the highlights, I like drag those down just because otherwise I feel like it's too bright. And then the contrast, I don't want it too dark, so I typically drag that down a little bit. I like to bring up my shadows just to bring in some more of that detail, and then drop the blacks just to give it more contrast. Usually like to bring up the whites as well. And then I like to bring my curves down in the whites and up in the blacks, and then some small adjustments depending on what I want the image to look like. This one I didn't feel like it was overly saturated, so I left the color as that is. A lot of times I'll drag my saturation down and my vibrance up a little bit. Obviously that's too much, but this one I thought it was good as is. I always drag up the sharpening a little bit And then I like to bring some color into the shadows or highlights depending on the shot. So, and then this one, we're going to dehaze and kind of that highlighted area. Don't really like that. So we're gonna do more of a like directional one versus just the whole side. So we'll do this kind of like where the light is coming from. It's maybe a little bit too much too. And then maybe just darken this a little bit. Actually, I kind of like that. So something else I also do a lot is I'm gonna bring this into Photoshop. So I like to work with light leaks and stuff like that in photos. I have so many different folders full of different types and colors of light leaks. These have a little bit of grain on them, which I like. And I just drag it so that, you know, that light source is coming from where the light is actually coming from, just to like enhance it a little bit. I'm gonna change the mode to screen. So you can see the difference there. That's a little too much, so I'm gonna bring blacks into that just so it's not as intense. And I'm also going to desaturate it a little bit because it was kind of a yellow tone. You can always like recolor the light leaks, you know, if you wanted a different color, and then just bring that down a little bit. It just warms it up a little bit and brings some more light into there. I'm also going to, I always like to unsharp mask. You can kind of see what it does there. It's just bringing more detail into your shot. I like to stay, you know, around 20. I don't want to go too high because then it just looks overdone. But you can see here, it's very subtle. But I just think it adds to it. So I also see here, I've got a couple little specks I think just aren't necessary since there's not as many twigs and dirt in this one. I'm gonna take those out just using my spot healing brush. Maybe this line here, take that out too. Yeah. So I think that looks pretty good. A lot of times, like if there's strings or hairs on the hat, you know, you always want to go in and remove those just so that the hat or product that you're shooting is clean and looks good, you know. So that is all I do for that. I feel like it's pretty simple. I don't do anything too drastic. I think just those subtle changes do so much for the image though. So this shoot was inspired by some shadows that I saw on the floor. I'm pretty inspired by just like random things like that. I think I see the world a little bit differently than most people. I think most photographers and creatives could relate in that way where they, you know, like if I see something in a reflection or I see like just little details when I'm out and about. I would say I look at the big picture when I'm looking at things, but I also am looking at little details. And I think that's something I've always been like that. So yeah, that's kind of where that inspiration comes from. It's pretty random. A lot of days I'm not overly motivated, but little things like that will just like spark something for me and I'm able to create random things from it or get ideas for other work that I have. So I hope that these videos will be useful for you. Like I said, I've been very reluctant to share some of this stuff. It's kind of scary for me because I'm afraid of losing what I have. I guess Bert's coming back for the video. But I've learned from such big photographers, and I hope that I can inspire you, and I hope that this is useful. And if you have any questions or anything that you would like to see from me, let me know in the comments, and I'll try to do that in future videos. So thanks for watching.